Hey everyone, Jim Fitzpatrick. Thanks so much for tuning in to another edition of CBT News. The latest State of the Automotive Finance Market Report from Experian reveals significant trends in how and what consumers are buying. Joining me now is Melinda Zabritski, Experian's Head of Automotive Financial Insights, to kind of delve into this and talk a little bit about this, share your insights. So thank you, Melinda, for joining us on the show.
Great, happy to be here.
Sure. So tell us about some of the key takeaways from the State of the Automotive Finance Market Report for Q2 2024.
Absolutely. So affordability still remains a concern in the second quarter. But despite that, we continue to see elevated levels of cash, both in the second quarter as well as earlier quarters. Typically for new vehicles, we only see around 15% cash. Lately, it's been steady at around 20%. And for used vehicles, we are at a record high of right about 62% cash. And some of that is driven by an increase in the average age of used vehicles being purchased. And then also on the new vehicle front, we are seeing a return to leasing.
That's good. We've been waiting for that in the industry, right?
Yes,
What
absolutely.
Is there a percentage that you can share with us that we're seeing leasing holding at now?
Right now, it's been around 25%.
Okay. That's not bad. I mean, it's typically, I guess the goal is kind of that 30% number, right?
Well, we started to see the 30% probably around 10 years ago, a little bit after the recession and as the market grew.
Sure.
But prior to that, it always was around 25%.
Oh,
and of course, with the inventory shortages a few years ago, it got down to 17%.
Yeah.
So 25, is certainly a respectable volume.
Yeah, for sure. What's led to the leasing reappearing on the horizon?
Yeah, much of that rebound really, again, it's tied to greater inventory availability, as well as a return to incentives.
Yeah.
And also, again, from an affordability standpoint, it's certainly attractive to consumers when, on average, a lease can get around $150 lower payment.
Right.
And in some cases, that payment can be hundreds of dollars difference.
Yeah, for sure. That is somewhat of a remedy to these high prices that we're seeing. I mean, almost $50,000 for the price of a new car. We have no idea where this is going. It's amazing. We've been talking to you now for a number of years here at CBT News. When the average price of a car was like $30,000 and now we're $50,000. So it's scary, right, as to where this is going.
Yeah, the loan amounts certainly took that really high jump when, used values went up so high. The loan amounts went up 30, 40%. When the new vehicle purchases were well above MSRP, again, we had 30, 40% payment increases, going from $35,000 or $33,000 for an average new loan amount. And now it's, $44,000, $45,000.
Yeah.
It is continuing to climb.
Sure. The data in the report found that average monthly payments for leased vehicles decreased across really all the segments. Is there a reason for that?
Well, a lot of that decrease is really driven by the different mix of leased vehicles this year compared to last year.
Okay.
And that mix did bring that payment down. And one of the shifts were a lower percentage of trucks that represented what was leased. Last year, it was 14%. This year, trucks were 11% of the lease mix. Most of leasing is made up of SUVs, but it tends to be more of the smaller and mid-size versus the larger. And also, EVs are representing a larger portion of what's being leased. It's about 15%. And with those tax credits, with the incentives on those leases, it really is bringing those payments quite a bit lower. So it's kind of all of those factors coming in to bring that payment down year over year.
Sure. What's the reason behind the captives remaining at the forefront of total and new vehicle market share?
It's all about the incentives.
Yeah.
Captives, about 60% of new financing. Their increase went right up when the incentives started coming back at the end of last year. So As long as they were running those incentives, their share just continues to remain very high. And with those low rate incentives, it's extremely difficult, of course, for other lenders to compete, especially in that new car space. So absolutely, largest lender type. And again, on the loan side, over 60%.
Wow. We hear that delinquencies are up substantially. Is that what you're finding as well?
They've been steadily increasing over the last several quarters. They're higher than they were prior to 2019, 2018. Right now, we're seeing about 1% of the outstanding loan balances at that 60-day delinquency.
Mm-hmm.
So yes, we are seeing them increase. They're similar to some of the peaks that we hit back in 2009.
Mm-hmm.
So yes, they certainly are on the rise.
Wow. Is that the canary in the coal mine, as they say? Is that for things to
Well,
come? Or?
it's a different market compared to what it was back in 2009.
Yeah.
I don't think the increase in delinquency is anything that's surprising the lending
Mm-hmm.
market. We've all kind of been anticipating that to happen. So we also have a reduction in severity of loss. It's
Mm-hmm.
again, the used values are still high. So even though it's increasing, it is a very different market today than what it was when we saw some of those peaks back in 2009.
Okay. Were there any findings that stood out to you?
We talked about the really high loan amounts and the higher monthly payments and such, but it's been nice to see that the growth in those loan amounts is actually slowing down. The increases year over year are very, very minor. New loans grew very modestly. Loan payments only increased by $1 or $2. They're high, but it's holding steady around that 734, 735 amount.
Okay.
And the used loan amounts are actually decreasing. So they did drop. The used payment did go down about $10 or $11, and
Okay,
that's
that's good.
now holding right around $525.
Okay, that's not too bad. That's not 750, that's for sure. So,
Yeah, exactly.
well, Melinda Zabritski, Experian Head of Automotive Financial Insights, thank you so much for joining us on CBT News. Very much appreciated. And till next time, stay well.
Great. Thank you.
Great, thanks.